The Dallas Mavericks are in trouble. During the second quarter, Luka all of a sudden started grabbing at his leg and immediately came out of the game. Well, the games yesterday were so exciting for us fans, there was some bad news for the Dallas Mavericks. He didn't return. Apparently, Luka was seen using crutches to leave the arena, and he's expected to undergo an MRI on Thursday. But the worst part is, they're apparently bracing themselves for him to be out for an extended period of time, which indicates to me and us fans that they already know it's not a 2-week injury. Obviously, he's getting the MRI so they could see how bad the injury is and what the actual timeline can be. But again, if they're already bracing for a long-term absence, they already know that it's probably at least 6 weeks. And calf strains are really tricky because we've seen calf strains turn into other things if they return too early or if they're not properly, rehabilitated. And if I remember correctly, this is the same calf, or maybe it was his ankle, but it's the same leg that was giving him problems earlier in the season. I think it was the same calf though. I believe it was a calf injury. So he has already had some wear and tear on this particular part of his body. We all know the Dallas Mavericks run through Luka. It's the Luka show. It's funny to say that when you have Kyrie Irving on your team. We all know what Kyrie Irving did when he was in the playoffs and the finals with LeBron on the Cavaliers. So we know how talented and special of a player that Kyrie is. But it's clearly Luka's team. He is the #1 best player, and everything I said runs through him. So they do have, enough talent on the team to not bottom out. But in the tough Western Conference, if Luka is not able to return for, let's say, 6 weeks at this point, I don't know how they could stay as a top 3 or 4 seed that they are right now. I would imagine they're going to fall in the standings maybe to 8th or 9th place. That's how hard it is in the West. I was looking the other day, and I forgot what team it was, but there was a team, I think it was the Sacramento Kings, to be honest, and they were above 500, but they were in 11th place. And I also said this about the Phoenix Suns when Kevin Durant got hurt the first time. They were battling for the #1 seed in the West. Kevin Durant was playing like an MVP, and as soon as he went out, I was like, the Suns might go 1-10 in their next game. And I said they needed to go at least 500 or 6-4 in order to stay afloat without KD. Because I said, you can make up 4 games. You can't make up 8 or 9. And I don't remember if I said they would go 1-10 or 2-10. But whatever I said they would go, they pretty much went. I think they went 2-10 in those games because it was a tough stretch. The only guaranteed win, I remember, was the Utah Jazz or something. The lucky part for the Suns is that it was still so early on in the season. And while this is not the end of the season, if Luka's going to be out for an extended period of time, he may not be back till the end of the season. They won't have any time to make up any ground that they miss. And that's just, assuming he's going to be back. I'm not predicting a season-ending injury because I have no idea. But if it's season-ending, then obviously everything is off the table. Because I would find it hard to believe anybody's going to pick the Dallas Mavericks to come out of the West and win the NBA championship if Luka is not there. So this is just crushing news for the Dallas Mavericks because although they started off the season rocky, they finally hit their stride. They seem to figure it out somewhat. I still personally was not sold on them, quote unquote. I still wasn't picking them to come out of the West, but they clearly were making strides and they were making a case that they could at least maybe come out of the West again, based on how they were playing. Like I said, the West is so loaded, it's really hard to pick a team to come out of the West. I'm sure most people are picking OKC at this point because OKC does look like one of the best, if not the best team in the West at this moment. But the Memphis Grizzlies, for example, before the season started, I said they would be a #3 seed. Where are they? They're right in that mix. They are playing and picked up right where they left off, which I thought they would. I don't know if they're coming out of the West either, but there are so many teams in the mix, and the Dallas Mavericks were definitely making a case for them to be in the mix again. But without Luka, this is just crushing news for the Dallas Mavericks, and we hope that he can return, soon, and hopefully it's more like a 6-week timeline instead of a season-ending injury.